Alright, what's up guys? I'm going to show you how I like to go about making Spark pages and how I think about making them and the tools I use. So you always hit the plus button. Now there's like 1,000 different things you can do, but my go-to every time is a web page. It creates a link that I can go and adjust later, and it just works really well for me. So I've been thinking a lot about Aldo Leopold. I'm reading his book, San County Almanac again. So we're just going to do a title about him, and I'm probably going to make art about him and his work, so I'm going to say how it's influenced my work, exclamation point. Now we're going to put an image in the background, right, image, boom, look at that. Spark page, I don't know where they get their images or their stock images from, but they do a really great job of just putting really nice, high quality images out there. Not all of them are amazing, but I would say a lot are. So you can get really generic like woods and get really cool things. You can also get pretty specific of like Wisconsin woods, right? You could type in lighthouses and get like thousands. So I don't know, this image is nice, works for my go-to. Next thing we're going to do is a glide show. So we're going to add an image in the background, and then we can put things on top of the image, and you can like glide through it. It makes it look really nice. I always like to click on an image, and before I hit save I want it to load all the way, but because I am doing this and talking and doing all these things on the computer, it's going to take a long time to load. So sometimes it's a crapshoot, but that's okay. This one's taking too long, so I'm just not going to do it. Sometimes the images are small, so when you click on it, you're like, wow, that's not actually that great of an image. And then sometimes you just got to go for it. So this one, I'm just going to go for it. I think it looks good. It'll readjust itself when it gets to like full resolution, right? Pretty nice picture for the background. This is a button. So a button is a cool thing that can take you to a link or a document or a video or a website. The buttons are kind of great. So there's this movie Green Fire about Aldo Leopold. So I'm going to copy the HTML, right, the website, put it into there. Right, link to movie, not very specific, so maybe I should adjust that to like link to Green Fire, which is the name of the movie. So link to Green Fire. Boom, look at that. You can also adjust where it is on the glide show, on the left side or the right side. And you can adjust where all this information is, where it's either the left, or the middle, or the center. A title is always a good thing, so you like can share with students what's the big idea or what's the main purpose of the whole lesson. So I want to watch a movie. This is the header 1, header 2, and then I kind of like this quotation thing if I'm like in the middle of a glide show and I want to like, hey, this is how to trim a bowl, or like this is something you should be thinking about. I kind of like to break it up that way. And then you can type a bunch of words, blah, 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 blah. This is just like a text box, but it'll be separated by that little plus sign, so you can always add more in between things. And all those plus signs go away when you submit. Next thing we're going to add is a video. It kind of has to be a YouTube video. I haven't found any other links that work super well other than YouTube's videos, and I make all my own YouTube videos, so it works really great. If you click on these little boxes here, it'll clip to your clipboard, which is kind of nice. Open up the video tab, paste the video link in there, and save that. Bam, there's a video. Super easy. It's kind of like a go-to thing for me. So that's kind of how I use Glide Show. Another thing is like the split image or the split screen or whatever you want, the split something. If you want students to like compare and contrast or like look at a picture or image or painting or something and then have them think about it, you can do that. You can also get pretty specific with your search. I think if I would have spelled Liechtenstein right, something would have popped up. But not always. So you think of like pop art, and here's like a bunch of graphic designers' idea of what pop art looks like, but it's not super accurate. And then if you think of like, oh, maybe there's some Andy Warhol out there. Yeah, not really, just crappy versions of Andy Warhol. So it is good and not like super specific. So you're going to have to find your own images if you want to get really specific about an artist. So I'm going to upload my own photo. What I like to do is on my desktop, I have a folder. There we go. Folder desktop of all the images I use for all my lessons, so that all the images I use are in one place. I don't have to go and look for them. So I'm just going to try to find something that I can talk about really quickly that looks cool. And there we go. This is an image I took in North Carolina along the Smoky Mountains. Normally on a picture, you can change the focal point of like where you want the image to be, like the center of the image, right? But because I think this image has a focal point of Amanda, that it just like automatically chooses where that focal point could be. But with any image you add to a Spark page, you can adjust where the focal point is. It's just like a cool little tool. If there's like, if it's not looking how you want on your Spark page, you can adjust it. So this is an image of my wife in near the Art Loeb Trail. There we go. It's coming. In North Carolina. Okay, just some words. You could add a question here. What I like to do is I did a conceptual art Spark page for teachers, and then I would add, like, put the name of the artist, a link to their website if they were alive or still had a website, and then maybe what the work was called that it was across from. I just think the split page is a great way to like compare or like to look at an image, give some information about the image or the place, and then share it with students. You could do this like a bunch of different times with a bunch of different artists or different images from artists, and it just looks really nice. You can also use all the heading tools that we talked about before. The next thing we're going to talk about is like a photo grid. So sometimes I'll do this if I want to the students to look at like a bunch of one artist or like a bunch of cups or a bunch of ideas, or maybe student work is another great idea for this. It just kind of like puts a grid together, and then I always like to adjust the grid to make sure it looks nice. And so I'm trying to make this one image on the top left of like a frozen lake match with the others, but it's just not going to because there's nothing really that interesting in the photo. So I'm going to add some more in there, and it's not quite balanced, right? Like, you guys are artists, so you should be thinking about like how these images look together, because if they don't look right, then they'll just like not be as appealing to the eye. You can always add text boxes in between things, right? So in between glide shows, or in between split frames, or in between the like grids, you can also just add information, right? So here's just like, oh, photos of Wisconsin's winter, right? And then so you can also add this collection of grid inside of a grid show, which is kind of interesting. And underneath each image, every time you add an image into Spark page, you can also put a subtitle underneath the image, which I usually suggest because it's good practice, so students can think about what the image is for and why did you add it into the lesson. This is just some simple things of how I use Spark page and how I go about creating one. It's not like super rocket science, but it's just like these are the simple tools I'd use and how I go about making them and creating them each time. Really, glide show is what I use the most of. It's like the bread and butter for me. I just think it looks nice. I can add all the information. I can separate it by day or by slide type of thing, and I think it just looks really great. So now I'm going to look at a lesson that I've already made, and we can talk about like how I think about like it inside of a lesson format. So the basics in cups, which is just like centering, throwing cylinders, and then throwing cups, right? So practice centering. Each one of these are videos. Instead of just having the video, it's a link to the video so that it doesn't look so clunky. Throwing a cylinder, right? So how do you throw a cylinder? There's 3 videos on how to throw a simple cylinder. And then the practice day, right? So like things to think about, separating out by day so they don't get overwhelmed. And then like cups. So now they're going to make cups, and they're going to sketch cups. So here's some like ideas of cup shapes. Here's some other things from textbooks that I found back in the day, and some handles. How much clay should you be using for a cup? How much should it weigh? My sketches, and then videos of how I make mugs, and then the total process all together. Some more of like how should the next couple days look for you, and that's just kind of like how I go about making the lesson. It's not a lot. I try to add more information and more images and videos than really anything else so that students are excited about what they're working on. But that's it. Hope you guys have a great day. Talk to you later. Bye.